Everybody, Connor Wade back with the Wildcat wrap-up. If you haven't heard the news already, you probably have. But yesterday, Governor J.B. Pritzker announcing that school will be out for the rest of the year. The IHSA made a statement yesterday saying that the board of directors with the IHSA would meet on Tuesday, April 21st, to make the final determination of what the situation is with spring sports. I'll be honest, I'm not sure if that means there's a chance spring sports does still happen, or exactly we'll just have to wait and see on Tuesday. But we will, after they make that announcement determination, we will hear again from the athletic director, Mr. Nadisky, who came on and talked with us earlier this week. We'll hear more about what he has to say about it, and let him send one final message to athletes and parents once that decision's made, whatever that decision is. Originally, I announced earlier this week that we would have a girls soccer senior for a virtual interview today, but unfortunately with some scheduling conflicts, we've had to push that back to next week. So instead, we're actually bringing in one of the standout baseball players from the Marion Wildcats the last 4 years, Mitchell Jackson, who graduated in the MHS class of 2019. Mitchell, let me unmute him. Hey, Mitchell, can you hear me?
Yep, how's it going?
Going good. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Yeah, my first question for you, we've talked to some of the seniors of Marion High School the last couple of weeks, and what they've said, whenever they got the news about this COVID-19 pandemic taking out their season, was, they were just in the groove of things, getting ready to go. And, the news came out that the spring sports and school both had been canceled. You were in the midst of your freshman season at SIU, so kind of tell us how yourself and the SIU baseball team kind of got that news, where they were at, and how they've responded since.
Yeah, of course. So, it was kind of heartbreaking news. No one wanted it to happen. But I think we were okay with it, because we knew a lot of our seniors, the main thing is we were worried about our seniors not being able to come back to play with us next year. But after they got cleared and they're allowed to come back, we weren't worried, because we realized as a team who we were, because we had a lot of new guys and a new coaching staff, and we just had to kind of figured out who we were, and now we can prepare even more for next year. So.
Absolutely. Well, you look at yourself a year ago, you've obviously went through not as much of your freshman season as you would have liked to, I'm sure. But, kind of recap for us personally, your freshman season at SIU. What did you learn, and where do you feel like you got better than where you were at going into college?
So I learned a ton, especially with our new coaching staff, especially with the new pitcher that came in just over Christmas break, the new pitching coach, Coach Jameson. And he came from Mizzou. Our head coach came from Mizzou, where Coach Jameson, Coach Max Scherzer, who's the best pitcher in the world, and he's over there pitching us. So just with him being over there coaching us and him having so much knowledge, I've just learned so much just from being there with him every single day and just learning everything that he has to teach us.
Kind of reflect on your time at Marion High School. First team all conference as a pitcher and as an infielder. You were a part of regional championship teams, I believe, both your junior and senior season. What's the biggest thing from Marion High School and playing baseball and basketball with the Marion Wildcats that you took with you and still keep with you today playing in college?
Well, the thing, of course, that I most cherish about the high school sports is the friendships made and the memories made. I gained friendships from basketball and baseball in Marion that I will never lose and I'll never forget. So I think that's just the main thing, is like just the teammates you have and the friends and relationships that you gain in those sports is just the biggest thing.
A question I asked pretty much all of our seniors that came on our podcast this year was, what their thoughts were going into college and how they thought that transition from high school to collegiate sports would be. What was that like for you transitioning from, playing baseball at Marion to baseball at SIU, and what was the hardest part of that?
Um, I guess the hardest part would just, I guess, be the routine. Because at SIU, I'd get up at 5:30 in the morning every day, 5 days a week, and we'd go to the weight room at 6 a.m. And it's just, I think getting in the routine from getting up at going to school at 8 a.m. in high school to getting up at 5 a.m. and going to workouts before you even go to school, and just the longer practices after school, and just the whole academic side of it as well. I think it's just the routine that was the hardest part.
So our seniors with the announcement yesterday from the governor, our seniors really it was the end of the journey for them, the journey through high school, and there were a lot of them I think were very upset and very emotional about the way their high school life ended. Going back to March 6th, I believe the date was, whenever all of our seniors and really all of our school and all of our town were gathered for the Marion Heron game, and Marion picking up the regional win. I know you weren't a part of that, and I'm sure you were bummed that you weren't. But that was, as Mr. Gadisky said earlier this week when we interviewed him, was what a great moment, what a great memory for our seniors to have, as that really, looking back now, is their last memory of high school and being together with their friends and the whole school. For you, and looking back on your senior season, and really we could even say your whole high school career, is there one particular moment that you cherish the most?
Oh man, I would definitely have to say sectional basketball game my junior year, 100%. With Cole Schaefer hitting the game winning shot and everyone storming the court. That, I think that's definitely the best memory I had at Marion.
I think we've had quite a bit of people say that. But Mitchell, you were drafted in the 36th round by the Atlanta Braves, the 2019 MLB draft. How much have you started to, you're just getting into college, but have you started to think about, once you get through college, baseball, and you're done with it, have you started to think about, maybe down the road, professional baseball, maybe in your future? And when is it too early to start thinking about that?
I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, that's the dream. So that's always been the dream since I was a little kid, is to play professional baseball. But I mean, right now, you got to kind of take it one year at a time. You can't really think too far ahead because, a very low percentage of athletes get that opportunity. So you can't be too hopeful on it. I just try to take it one year at a time. But yeah, of course, that's always the goal. Getting drafted again and be able to play baseball for a living is always something that I've dreamed of doing.
Talk about going to SIU. You grew up in Marion, went to Marion High School. All 4 years of high school. Live your entire life in Marion. So, what does it mean to you? What did it mean to you to be able to have an opportunity at such a great baseball program like SIU, and a college that you've been around your entire life? What did that mean to you?
It was great because before Marion, I grew up in DeSoto, which is right next to Carbondale, and my grandparents have always lived in Carbondale, and my dad grew up in Carbondale, and my mom played softball at SIU as well. So, and I grew up a SIU fan as a kid, and my grandpa would always take me to the game. So, it's really cool to be able to play for the team that you looked up to growing up and that you were a fan of. So it's pretty nice.
Absolutely. Well, what's one, if you could give one piece of advice to those seniors that just had their high school careers ended with the COVID-19 pandemic that are going to go on and play sports in college. Maybe it's baseball, maybe it's softball, soccer, whatever sport it is. Can you give them one piece of advice to help make that transition from high school to college smoother?
I have to say, just like, don't quit, never quit. Always just have a goal that you want, and just never quit on what you're going for. Like, sometimes it'll get really hard, especially with the COVID-19 virus going on right now. But if you just keep getting through it, the hard days will get easier every day, and you'll get through it and you'll accomplish those goals.
Absolutely. Well, Mitchell, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us. Don't hang up quite yet. I'm going to mute you, and I'll finish this thing up. But thank you so much for coming on. I want to wish you the best of luck at SIU.
Thank you.
Great talking to Mitchell Jackson, and glad he was willing to do this. I want to thank everybody for checking out these virtual interviews. We'll see what the IHSA says on Tuesday about spring sports, and depending on that, that's probably going to determine how many more of these interviews we do. Still would like to talk to a couple athletes, particularly from the girls soccer team. I just want to thank everybody that's been watching these. Certainly hope you've enjoyed them. Make sure you check out the Wildcat Wrap Up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you'd like to go back and listen to previous episodes of our podcast, you can do that on Apple and Spotify. If you need a fundraiser for upcoming travel ball summer sports, you already think about high school sports in the fall, Buckets for Benefit is the organization for you. Go to their website at www.bucketsforbenefit.com and learn how they can help your organization. I just want to thank everybody for watching, and want to wish the best of luck to all of our seniors, and whatever the next step going forward is for them or their future endeavors. But thank you so much for watching, and we will see you back in our next virtual interview.